Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So today is the third video of our decimal series, and today we are looking at dividing decimals by whole numbers. And we have already looked at adding and subtracting decimals and multiplying decimals. So now we're going to start with division. And a lot of kids don't like division, but if you know your multiplication tables and your divisibility rules that we did a video of a few days ago, it really isn't that difficult. So I hope that this is helping any of my students, any of the students around the district or state or even country, as we have these crazy times with this virus. So I hope this is helping you all. Remember, if there's anything that you all need help with, a little mini lesson of, please just let me know in the comments. And I have access to a art teacher, a language arts teacher, a social studies teacher, and I can teach 5 through 9 math and also 5 through 9 science. So any little thing that you want a little mini lesson of to help you review or even learn a new concept, just let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can stay updated on all of these little videos. It's helping with reviewing and just looking at new things and help you with your work at home. And don't forget to like the video as well. Don't forget that I do make a mistake for extra credit for my students. Teachers, feel free to use this for your students as well. They can email me or send it through Messenger on Instagram to let me know what they find. So let's get started. Alright y'all, so we are dividing decimals by whole numbers, and there is my Instagram and my YouTube channel. Okay, I don't have a work mat for this one as well, just because I don't have the manipulatives for it. So we're just gonna look at the notes and then we're gonna go right on to the examples. So when dividing by a whole number, you're gonna divide normally and then just bring the decimal straight up into your quotient. So if you have remainders, so this is the big thing, the big difference when you are dividing decimals. You don't just stop and say, okay, remainder of 4. You can add a 0 in your dividend until you have a remainder of 0. So until you do not have any other remainders. But then this is something that I tell my students just because they're in 6th grade. But once you get into 7th and 8th grade, you may look into repeating decimals and terminating decimals and all that. So I tell them to just stop once you get into the thousandths place. And then you can also round to the thousandths place. Okay, so our first question, so we have 83 and 1/10 divided by 5. Now remember, with addition and multiplication, you have those properties. So the commutative property of addition and multiplication tell you that it does not matter the order. So with this one, with subtracting and dividing, it definitely does. So the first term here will be your dividend, and this is your divisor. So that means 83 and 1/10 will go inside, and then 5 will go on the outside. So we start off, can 5 go into 8? Well, let's think of the divisibility rules for 5. So it has to end in a 5 or a 0, so it can't go into it evenly, but we can say it can go into it one time. So then we do 1 times 5 is 5, subtract 8, subtract 5 is 3. And then I always tell my student, check, is 3 greater than or less than 5? Because if it is greater than, that means that it can go back into that dividend one more time. But if it's smaller than, it's okay, you're good, you can go on to bringing down your second digit. So now, how many times can 5 go into 33? Well, the closest number is 30, so 6 times, and 6 times 5 is 30. We're going to subtract. 3 subtract 0 is 3, and then that one's 0, and it's not really necessary to bring that down. Then check, 3 is less than 5, so it's okay to go ahead and bring down. Now we did get to our decimal here, so all we do with that decimal is we bring it straight up where it is. So our next number in our quotient will go behind the decimal. So how many times can 5 go into 30? 1. So it can go into it 30 times, or 6 times. And 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract, and you get 1. Now, here is where we start looking at something new other than just dividing. So we don't say that that is a remainder of 1. When you're dividing decimals, you can just add a 0 up here. And that's because when I add a 0 there, it's not changing my number. That is still 1/10. So now I have that 0 to bring down. So you can continue to add zeros as you need them because it's not changing your number any. As long as it's behind the decimal, it's not changing your number any. So now how many times can 5 go into 10? 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract, and you get 0. So now that that is 0, I can stop. I'm done. Here is my quotient. Okay, so notice that my work is a little crooked here. That's okay. But remember, dividing, well, any operation really is so important to keep your work organized. So here is our first example. Just like adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing decimals, you can use line paper to help you stay organized with division. So I'm going to show you. Remember, we turn it sideways so that each number can go in between each line. So here is our dividend. So that goes on the inside. And I do put the decimal in the line, or in its own line. And so then I can divide by 2. Well, I just noticed that my examples were a little mixed up. So this was supposed to be example 1, but that's okay. Nobody's perfect. So 2 can go into 8 how many times? It can go into it 4 times. So 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract, and I get 0. I got to my decimal, so I can bring that decimal straight up. I can also do that at the beginning. I can do it at the end. But notice that the answer for this first one goes right above it, and that is why this paper helps so much. So now, it's okay to have a remainder of 0, or for when you subtract. So then you can bring down that 8. So now how many times can 2 go into 8? 4 times. 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract, and I get 0. So then I'm finished with that question. So my quotient is 4 4/10. So now this one's already set up for us. And I'm dividing by 5. I'm going to go ahead and bring that decimal up. It's okay to do that. So now, how many times can 5 go into 9? 1 time. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract, and I get 4. Is it okay to have a remainder of 4? Absolutely, it's less than 5. So then you have the go-ahead to go ahead and bring that down. So now, 5 into 47. So how many times can 5 go into 47? 9 times. So 9 times 5. I know that's wrote a little crazy, but you're still just subtracting. So 7 subtract 5 is 2. 4 subtract 4 is 0, and you don't really need to put that. So now I have a remainder. I don't have any numbers left in my dividend to bring down. So remember, with dividing decimals, we can't have a remainder, so I'm going to add a 0 and bring it straight down. So now, how many times can 5 go into 20? 4 times, so 4 times 5 is 20. I subtract, and I get 0, so then I am finished, and this is my quotient. And notice how the lines just keep it straight, and you're not getting confused, and it's easier to, a lot of my students like to forget or like just stop and say, okay, I'm done, I don't have any other numbers. So it's just a really great way to keep everything in line. Okay, let's look at our last example for today. I'm going to go ahead and go to the back. So I'm going to go ahead and remember the first term is your dividend. Second term is your divisor. Okay, how many times can 4 go into 2? Well, it can't. So you need to go on to the next number. How many times can 4 go into 21? Well, it can go in 5 times. So then 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract, and I get 1 because 2 subtract 2 is 0. I got to my decimal so I can bring it straight up. But I need to bring my third number really down. So now, how many times can 4 go into 12? Well, it can go into it 3 times. Now notice that 3 is going above the 2 because that's what I'm dividing. So 3 times 4 is 12. And I get 0. It's okay to have a remainder of 0. Now, just because I have a remainder of 0 does not mean that I stop. So I still need to bring that 8 down. So then 4 can go into 8 3 times, and 3 times 4 is 8. And so then I am finished. And there is my quotient. I hope that this was a really good review for you. I hope that you learned something, or that it was able to help you remember something. And I hope it also helps you with your assignments as you all are working at home. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up so that that I know that you liked it and that you learned something, but also so you can keep up with all of the other videos as we are going on in this time where you're not in the classroom. But remember, I'm still here to help. So you all stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.